Today, as you can see, as you can clearly see, obviously, I am quite angry. Now, if you guys haven't noticed for no apparent obvious reason, whatever, it's if you can tell that when I'm angry or not just by looking at how my eyebrow forms or something. I don't know how anger works. Okay, I don't understand it. I don't get it because being cool means that I can't get angry. So yeah, quite a new feeling to me. Quite a new feeling. But this is quite special. Because remember the last time when I did something similar to this, when I go ahead and talked about the biggest fear I had, and if you guys want to check, I'm not gonna tell you what it was about because otherwise there's no point in you guys watching that video, I guess. When I made these kind of philosophy sessions where I don't go to Omegle chats and then have my face freaking fit onto the whole of your screen. It has to do with the fact that I'm just venting stuff out that I've been thinking for a long time, and it's just a good opportunity to share my thoughts and see, hear, or in this case just only see your opinions about it as well, which is good. But this chat will be quite relatable to other people because I'm not sure if there's gonna be any people showing up right now. I'm just gonna say this chat is about the question that everybody asked, and then yes, it's still the hardest question that everybody inevitably sometimes regrets, fails to or even go around and see for the yes, it was the bad decision, and this covers things like decision making, politics as well, and also just going, and then also history, and then culture and stuff like that. It involves everything, which makes this thing very complicated to talk about, and I don't think I can do it much justice. I've been thinking about this topic for a long time now, and then even right now I don't know if there's a good way I can summarize it in an efficient way and non-controversial method. So if you guys disagree with me in anything I say, feel free to vent it out on me as well, because these kind of sessions are all about me venting my thoughts as well. So I appreciate all different opinions, and yeah, just know for a fact that neither of us are right or wrong. So yeah, I guess I should just start right now. The question that I'm talking about is very simple, very, very simple. It's quite obvious as well. Whether or not people should listen to themselves or just go with the flow. And hear me out on this. Yeah, Nekomiki. Hi, Nekomiki. Yeah, nothing can anger me anymore. Nothing can anger me. I'm already pissed off enough, okay? Nothing you say is gonna bother me because, I'm already angry as it is. So, yeah. I'm sorry, Nekomiki. Normally I have you, making hateful comments so that, I can be angry with you. But, yeah, I guess that's not happening today. So, hear me out. And I'll just, what the F? So, yeah, that is what we'll be doing today. Did you hear what I was talking about? I one thing to laugh at. What laugh at? Now there is none. Okay, fine. Anyways, I hope you heard what I was talking about. The question I'm talking about today is simply the fact that when is it ever okay to just go with the flow or listen to yourself? And here's where the question stems from, because it's very simple. Everybody in this world can live a perfectly good life by just accepting everything, and that's good. And you might be scoffing at this idea or something, but right now we are in a stage in history where law is enforced enough, and then culture is there to a certain extent, as long as you're in a developed country. I guess I'm not speaking for every single country out there, where you can just ignore. Technically ignore. By the way, I can see all the chats here. I don't know if... Wait, I have to check this. Hold on. If I put this right up here. If I put this up... Oh, nope, never mind. Oh, browser there. I can't see the chats. I'm trying to work around this. Give me a second. I'm just gonna pretend that this is it. Okay, so, if you guys don't know, that's no fun. This is not meant to be fun. This is the hardest question. Well, basically, just when is it ever okay to just go accept things the way it is, or just change things? And that decision is there for everybody. And this can be from anything from you quitting your job, or changing your lifestyle, or just doing something, the thing where you follow the flow, bro. Yeah, bro. So like, and then just going around and then, or like not listen to others and then just make your own decision, I guess. The thing where you follow. Okay. So this is probably the hardest question that most people ask all the time, because like, well, this is more common. This is more common than ever before, because right now people are trying to figure out like what they're fighting for and if they should be fighting for things, which some other people would think that there's no point. And I want to split this up in like two different sections. One, the question itself, and the second, the difference between like being ignorant and accepting. And I'll just start with the question itself. The question about like the basically like what does it mean to like have your own thoughts in this world and like following your own opinion. And as I was saying, you can live a perfectly good life as so long as you're in a modern society. And by modern, I do mean like just think about that yourself, like modern society with basic laws and like human rights, and you'll be perfectly fine with it. And people live happy lives just by doing that as well. And like you don't have to go through any troubling things like arguing with other people. You just accept the things as they are, and then just go ahead and then just pick what society tells you is the right option. And you might think that that's bad if I say it out loud like this, and this is why this is a hard thing to like convey in words. But it's not bad, because like, well, many people live just fine doing that as well. Some like, if the society tells you to go to school and then you go to school and then you graduate, you'll be and most likely you're gonna be fine. And if you go ahead and then like graduate university or something and then you get a good job and then just live out your life, pay taxes, blah 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 and stuff like that. The funny thing is, people hate that idea, and I think many people, and there's a good reason for it, but people always forget the fact that like many people do this simply because, well, it's the best way to like get through in anything you do. And that's the key. When is it ever okay not to do that is the question that people ask, because eventually people will have to like tell themselves, when does individualism come in, and when does and where do you actually fit into all of this? Like for example, if you go to school and then like you just like, and then you go around and then say you hate school, but then and then someone asks you a simple question, well then what are you gonna do else? What else are you gonna do? And then most people would have no answer to that, because like, well, it's hard to like get yourself out of that situation where you're like expected to do something, and it's not you telling yourself to do something, it's about the world telling you to do something, and you refuse, and you decide to rebel against that, and that's quite hard for anybody. So the question that I think that many people ask for day-to-day life, and regardless of what you go through, is the fact that like when do you start like taking more risks by like being individualized and then like trying to portray yourself more than like reflecting the societal needs, when it is so easy to just go through life just by being just regularly normal. And I'm by far not very normal, and you guys can agree with that. But not being normal is very challenging, you see. Like being out, and because like no matter what kind of like thing, no matter how small you do, the fact that you are like trying something new will inevitably make you into some sort of outcast to a certain level, depending on what you do. It obviously depends on what you do, obviously, but to a small to large extent, people tend to like try to want to figure out when is it ever okay to like fight for something. And that's what I want to get behind. Like when do you need to fight for something when your life is overall can just go smoothly, when just by listening to whatever is happening. And we're at that case right now where people have, and I'm saying this right now because people have like, there's news about like protests going on and stuff like that all over the world, and then like, and people want to like get their voices heard, but they made a choice, and they made that choice where like just having a happy life is not enough anymore. That's where I'm coming from. And then they just want to rebel against something that if they didn't otherwise, they could arguably just live a good life no matter if they hadn't went there. And that's the question, is what I'm thinking of today. Now, the second point I want to mention is the difference between ignorance and like acceptance. because these two are the first question, and this part of the section. This part is very important to link together. It's easier to say it that way. So, what does it? If you want to like live in society, and this will be for everybody, no matter like how outgoing you are, you need to assimilate to a certain extent, and people think that that's a bad thing, and there's there's a good reason why they think it's a bad thing. But without a certain level of assimilation, you are no better than an alien trying to fit into a human race. And to an even larger extent, you might be just seen as someone who's dangerous, and just not because it has nothing to do with the fact that like you're weird. It's just the fact that you're dangerous, and then like people hate change, and I hate change. You hate change as well. That's why we have trouble every time we try to do something new or like fascinating. No matter how good it is for us, it's hard because like we just want. Why bother changing when we can just live normally as we are now? And people would think that, many people think that as well, and many people go against that idea, which is fine as well. But the question is, when is it those people who accept the things as they are, actually accepting rather than ignoring it? And the example I want to put out is like I wanted to make this like. Okay, let's start with a small thing first. Like, for example, the military service, I guess. Many countries right now have like, even though it's peace times right now, many countries have like mandatory military service where people have to go to. Now, and this can be like Singapore or like, I don't know, many other countries, but like, yeah, basically like that. So, the thing that fascinates me about this topic, like concerning the military service, is the fact that nobody wants to go and then to go as well. No, not yet. What do you mean? I don't understand that. But basically, my question is, nobody wants to do it. That's the thing. Nobody wants to do it. But in a democratic country, people are still being forced to do it, and to a certain extent, like going around. Depends on where I'm from, right? Yeah, I change where I'm from every single day, bro. So, anyways, where was I? So, basically, I lost track of what I was thinking. So, basically, look, many people are accepting it to a certain extent, saying that it will be fun and it will be enjoyable, but in the end, they still admit the fact that they're still being forced to do it. And I don't understand, like, if you're being forced to do something that you don't want, is that accepting your fate, or is that just ignoring the problems about the thing that you are being forced to do? And let's go to like a different example now. For example, uniforms in like workplaces or schools, for example. Like every single person I've ever met hates uniforms, apparently, and if not all of them, at least most of them. Now, the thing that I find fascinating is the fact that despite the fact that teachers make up the whole school system, and I talked to some of them as well about it, but the funny thing I find is the fact that they say they hate uniforms as well, but they say they have no choice but to wear them because it's their job obligation. But when all of your like staff hates it, like this doesn't matter where you are and this doesn't matter what you do, and then they just say that it is for the needs of the school or the workplace or whatever it is that accepting the problem, or is that just like ignoring the issue altogether? And is ignorance the best way to live? Is that best way to like survive in any situation like that? Because this is what I think is the difference between being ignorant and accepting. The difference is the fact that like if you ignore, you don't care like what bad things happen to you if you decide to take that action. For example, if you like go ahead and then like you get kidnapped, and then you like seeing things that you're in the worst possible situation ever, but to make your life easier, you decide to just ignore the problem entirely. To you, you are no longer kidnapped. You are just living your days in a cage-like room with a nice comfy bed, and then like if you're lucky, with a TV and like a pal who's holding a gun at you. So yeah. So is that kind of ignorance is, I don't understand. Like, is that ignorance or is that like the good kind of thing? Oh, hi, bro. So sorry, I need to drink. So yeah, that's one example. Like some people tend to think that like ignorance is a way to survive as well, and I want some opinions on that as well. Like, do you think that's a good idea? I don't know, but the difference is now with accepting. If you're accepting things, you don't mind it. That's the thing. That's the basis of it, I guess. If you decide to accept something as the way it is, then you have deemed that if this thing that everyone wants to change actually changes, you decided that it is not worth the change, because the thing that is already there in the present is completely fine. Like, it's not harming anybody, it's not harming you, it's not affecting you personally. At least enough for the fact that like you need to like change this system, or change what is made, or change what's happened before. And it's fascinating because this is the main reason, like, argument that like what I said about the uniform people would do. Because like, well, first of all, people wearing uniform doesn't harm anybody. Plus, if you decide to write a contract like for $1 million or like $1,000 even, I think the next requirement to like wear a uniform to like, or a suit for your work wouldn't prevent you from like accepting $1,000 work perhaps. And this is funny because like that means it made it worth it for you to like be able to go through the trouble of something that you don't really agree with, but some things are worth trying, like taking away some of your things that you want for something even greater. I hope you guys get what I mean. And if you guys don't understand, this was mostly played out in the economics of China. Now, I'm not here to like judge China right now at the moment, but if you guys know about Chinese economy, for example, you guys know that it's quite controlled, and then like it handles its citizens, it handles jokes and then like freedom of speech very differently to that of countries like America. So the funny thing is, countries in America who want to do business in like China have to give up some of their freedom of speech rights that they always expect to have in like countries like in their country of origin, the United States. And then many people think that that's terrible, because like, well, you're just like giving your rights up just to get more money. And that is exactly what is happening. So, but the thing is, those companies who like work in this business and stuff like that in America, who decide to import products to China, they will say that it's acceptable. It's acceptable because yes, we do lose some rights, and we may lose some like dignity from this, because yes, we are admitting the fact that we are like doing this for money more than our rights. But we decided as a company that like are sacrificing some rights for our cause, for the goal of making profit, to be acceptable. And we made that decision by ourselves without being forced to. And this is where it gets complicated, because like, where do you actually draw the line between whether or not you are actually ignoring the problem or like accepting the problem? Is it ever okay to accept an issue? It's just the way it is. Because I'm telling you right now, in my opinion, if we have enough like time and like work put into anything, I'm certain that as a human race, we can like achieve pretty much anything in the world if we desire to. Like, even right now, people are saying that like immortality will be happening in the future very soon, because like, one, it's a lot easier like compared to like curing cancer apparently, and two, there will be a lot more funding and like research going on into that right now. And right now, something that's supposed to be accepted as the fundamental truth of nature, the idea of death itself, is now becoming like nuanced, like it's about to change as well. And apparently that's the case. I'm not telling you guys to put your hopes up though, so just in case. So everything can be changed and then everything can be accepted as well. But when do you actually take the chance to accept the things as they are and or fight back against what people have accepted for so long? And this is where I want to get to the controversial topic of this channel, topic of this whole stream that's going on right now. There has been a lot of protests these days about certain things, and I'm not gonna go into detail, but those people have decided that despite living in arguably, and this is happening in a lot of Western countries where arguably there's less to complain about compared to some less developed economies out there and less developed countries, and I'm not gonna judge how developed a country needs to be in order to allow protests. But the thing is, okay, hear me out. That the thing is, these people who technically don't have much to complain about are the ones who are more likely to complain about, and I find that very funny because yes, we have a lot of problems in the world right now, but most of the time you can go and just accept those problems as the way it is and just live perfectly fine lives. And most of the problems that these people are fighting for also don't technically affect them as much anyway. So it becomes very funny when people are fighting for things that don't affect them, first of all, and secondly, can sometimes even lead to more consequences in the long run. And also, thirdly, it takes a lot of time and energy to do this. And still saying that yes, it's worth taking this fight against the normality of the world right now. And this is the main reason why this is the hardest question that everybody asks, and this is why the title is this way. Because everybody wants the world to change for the better, and that's no exception for me, for you, for anybody. But when the change right now, as I would argue, is we are living in a time where the world is better than ever before. Just 100 years ago, there's wars happening every single year and stuff like that, and plagues, and was nothing compared compared to what it was here. I mean, no. I'm trying to say that the plague today is nothing compared to what was happening way before this as well. So there's no denying the fact that our world is now more quote to quote better than ever before, as I would say. But now people are having these chances to see for themselves whether or not there's anything more they need to change or there's anything they can keep. People are opting to change things when many would argue would not need to. And this can be either good or bad way to think about, because on one hand, yes, we can all admit the fact that we want some kind of change every so often, but we can't. The problem with that is it gets harder and harder for people to figure out, well, what things do actually need to change and what things should be kept the way it is. And this is the problem that every single politician goes through and every single individual goes through. Because when your life is so... And I'm gonna say this confidently, perfect, almost perfect compared to what it was before. What are you really fighting for at this point? What are you actually fighting for? And what are you trying to become at this point? What are you gonna? Is there any benefit that comes? Or are you doing more harm than good? Is your desire to want change, or your desire to want progress in your own ideology, actually doing more damage compared to just doing nothing at all? And this is even more troublesome because now people are wanting to do more than ever before, and that's supposed to be great. And people are willing to complain and let out their voices more than ever due to technologies like this, and the fact that they can recognize more problems than before. But it also, at the same time, causes the idea of change to skew a bit, because now people are recognizing problems and they are more able to share problems that may have never become a big issue unless they have never ever seen it before. And what counts as one person's worldwide like problem is not a worldwide problem for another person. And many people want to change that person's mind to make sure that everybody realizes that the thing that these people find insignificant tend to be an actual worldwide problem. And this causes people who want to be more like I'm just gonna say it, conservative in their own ways, to like enforce them and cause like these like split to happen where like there's no middle ground anymore. You either join us or you're against us. And this is not only for against liberals but also for conservatives as well, because like even conservatives are also scared about this as well. Oh, this is not only about the coronavirus either, and then I'm just gonna make sure this has to do with like any choices you do, because when do you go against society, like the thing that's happening normally and the thing that you want and the thing you're going against? When is it worth to like go make yourself uncomfortable, make the whole world uncomfortable to make the changes? Is the thing that everybody struggles with. And this doesn't even have to be world issues, but it can be individual ones as well. Like, when is it okay for you to like go out of the norm and try something that you would have never done before if you were to stick with the program of life? Like, life would tell you basically in general to get a job, be healthy, etc. But why doesn't that prevent people from jumping up skyscrapers for like world records? Why doesn't that prevent people from like looking for less paying jobs for like their dream jobs, apparently, even though it doesn't make technically financial sense? Well, because one, humans are complicated and people want many things, different things, and people want to try and find out what that thing they're looking for is. And some people, I would argue many people in fact, succeed in finding those. But is it okay to ever take that risk? And if so, when is it okay to take that kind of risk? Is your job really that bad despite the money for you to like quit right now? Is it ever that bad? People would take decades for you to like come back to that job if you were going to quit now. Is that really worth it? And then people were like, well, I do have my dream, but you can't quantify dream. You can't quantify progress other than money and like time and also progress in technology and stuff like that. You can't quantify what causes like you to have a better life. That's it. And people try to find out all the time, and I'm just gonna say it out right now, it's not possible. But when people try it and then get out of their boxes and they succeed, somehow I would argue they have done it, I guess. They have achieved the change that they desired, and then they can become happy. But are you sure that the choice that you made at that moment, where you, regardless of your personal life, where you like quit your job and then like trying to find something new, or the point in time where you decide to protest against something to maybe a government or to a company or whatever, was that worth it? And like, is the only way you can ever find out that whether or not it was worth it to like just face it and then just suck it up when it fails and suck it up more if it does succeed? And I would argue, yes, it is. So this is why this is the hardest question ever, because unfortunately you can never answer this unless you like go through with the decision in the first place, you know? Go through with that, just go all out in it, and then just regret, not, whatever, you've done it, that's it. If you decide to like not do anything about your problem, for example, you decide not to protest against something like racism, I guess, that's your decision. And some people will say that's a good decision because like, well, it's dangerous to stand out, you know? It's very dangerous to stand out like that. You'll make enemies, no doubt about it. The thing is, people who tend to change will make way more enemies than those people who decide not to do anything about bad situations, or bad situations which doesn't affect them too much, that makes it worth it for people to get involved in that kind of dangerous situation, if you know what I mean. And when you decide to take that dangerous leap, the rest is up to you. you could have lived a good life just by not doing anything about it. You could have done that. Who who cares if someone's racist to someone else? If it doesn't bother you, who cares? But then you also have to go for a fact, admit the fact that, and accept the fact that like what you have done was a good idea. Yeah, whatever. And you have to just make sure for a fact that you have done the right thing. And knowing what the thing that you've done is right is impossible unless you know the consequences of it. And this is what makes humans a very kinda, in my opinion, flawed creatures. When the only way you can really know your mistakes and to really know like the things you have done is to be right or wrong is by just going through it. And right now, in my opinion, in the humblest way I can put it, people tend to not like give enough thought into this. Look, there's no coming back from this. You're gonna either regret it or you're gonna succeed. Is your life really that bad, or is your situation at the moment that terrible in order for you to go through what you're about to go through? Some people will say yes, some people will say no. And that decision is arguably, yes, the hardest question that anyone will ever had asked before. Because this question transcends all questions, in my opinion. As long as humans have ever existed, obviously, which was not too long anyway. So yeah, I hope I have like interest you in this topic a bit. I know this was not a good thing to not well said out loud, because like I said, this is really complicated, and then like it goes into like many fields as well, which I can't go through today. But honestly, I'm just a bit disappointed and a bit angry as well about this affecting me a lot as well, you know? Like I try to like stand out a lot as well. I try to like want to like try to do things that people have like always just accepted as the things they are. And then I still don't know whether or not I made the right choice or not. And frankly speaking, you will never know, and I will never know, because there's always options out there. But when people other than you are trying to like say that it's a bad idea, it gets really hard for you to like stand on your ground when there are protesters out there, and then like people who are just having different opinions, strongly having different opinions than you, try to tell you that you have made arguably the worst decision in your life. And this goes into the fact that like many people are now trying to become like trying to solidify. I'm itching my nose too much. What the hell? Trying to like solidify what they actually think that, you know, people don't think that if you are a liberal person, for example, people would think that change is almost always a good thing as long as it's for the better. But if you're conservative, then you'll just think that, well, it's already okay the way it is. It's already fine the way it is. And both of them have very good opinions, and then like sometimes I choose to do one or the other, and almost every single time there will be an opposing view who would disagree with me quite strongly about this. And then yeah, gets complicated from then. It gets really tough, because like people need to in my opinion need to recognize the fact that there was times when you need to do either or one of those, and then but choosing which one to do on different types of situation is again the hardest question you can ever ask. And because simply put, it has an answer to it. It definitely has an answer to it. But can you live through can you live or like be happy or like be satisfied until you figure out the answer for yourself, whether or not the decisions you made, the chance that you took by either not doing anything or by taking action to be worth it? And I'll tell you the reason why I want to talk about this, because there are many examples right now. But like one time when I was like seeing a construction that was happening close by and these trees get knocked out, I wanted to do something about that. I really wanted to do something about that, and I tried to like get people to join, but they said it was pointless. And And eventually when that happened, I started to like agree with them because like yeah, I had stuff going on as well and I couldn't afford the time to like or the energy to like go ahead and then do something about it. And yeah, I can regret that right now, but at the same time I can't help but feel that it just pointless. And sometimes people do want to accept some things as pointless. Pointless efforts, pointless things to do. And then some people would want to run away from their problems as well, simply because well they can't solve this issue. If you can't even like do nothing to solve it and you can't do something about it to solve it, then the one thing that people would do the most in order to like still function and be happy to as much as they can in the arguably worst in a bad situation is to just ignore it and hopefully just let the time pass enough so that like it handles itself, or just escape from it. And frankly speaking, I'm not sure whether or not escaping is the right option, because certainly there are times when you need to give up as well. Like I'm not gonna just lie about that. There are times when you can give up, but ultimately speaking, giving up still means for a fact that you have not given enough chance or the time or the effort needed for you to succeed. So that's still kind of arguably true. So, and this is where I go back to like the idea of torturing. Like, sure, you're in the worst possible situation ever, where you're like in a place like you're locked down or you're locked out and you got kidnapped, and then like you get like all this bad treatments handled to you as well. I'm going back to the idea of getting kidnapped, okay? But when there is literally arguably zero to no hope, I mean almost no hope, not completely no hope, but almost no hope for you to like get out, is it wrong for you to like just accept or like ignore the problems? Just let things be the way it is? Is it wrong for you to just ignore your abusive boss as long as you get like good pay from it? Because making the best out of the worst possible situation is what humans tend to excel at. But of course, it's questionable these days as well. God, my nose is so itchy. But it's quite complicated more than ever. But like, is it wrong for people to ignore it, not accept it, just ignore issues, and then just try to just live out their lives in complete like ignorance? Because some religion would say that ignorance is bliss, and I didn't agree with that, but it does get questioned about as well, because there are certainly things that I just don't want to think about, I don't want to talk about, and I want to ignore and then just run away from it. If I'm forced to do something and that I don't want to, frankly speaking, like I want to run away. Yeah, I want to just try my best to escape from it rather than just do something about it, or just like accept the thing they are asking of me, or like myself asking me to do something. And I just can't argue too much about that either. And this can be linked to like many of the stressful situations that many people go through in like their day-to-days, I guess. Because like, well, there's only three things you can actually do when you are faced with a problem. You can either accept the problem, try to fix the problem, or ignore it or run away from it. And then but people are stubborn. People want to do something about a problem. There's no denying that. Everybody wants to do something about a problem if they are faced with it. If you step on a nail, the first thing you want to do is like try your best to remove it. But when your problem is like when problems now like it's in a world that is like more more perfect than ever before, it gets really hard to like the problems that still exist today is much more harder to fix than the problems we had before. And yes, some people still have problems that's easier to fix than others. But now with a nation more like perfect than ever before, the problems are more debatable as to what actions need to be taken. And the issues that we are facing now were never talked about in the past, because at that time they had so much other things to think about, and those problems were easier to fix because like, well, many of those problems just involved a bunch of guns, and then like and I'm not saying all of them, obviously some things include diplomacy, but those things were more rigid. People accepted more things than they do today, and it was much more easier to just ignore things the way they are, because everyone just accepted it, and it was that easy. But now, because like the problems that we have are more complex than ever before, and arguably the line between whether or not you should do something about it being thinner than ever before, it gets really difficult. And everybody who's like have any like tough conversations with anyone or had to make difficult decisions, you should know this. You should know for a fact that like the problems you're facing right now is just that complicated, and the chance to like and the choice of like making the choice that I mentioned to you today is just one of the many, if not few, ways to like deal with those problems, and many of them have either failed or succeeded. And whatever you'll be, no one knows. Nobody knows. Okay, I guess that is it for me today. Special thanks to everybody new followers who have followed me today. I hope you guys have like I don't know, enjoyed. I can't tell if this was supposed to be enjoyable or not, because I was just blabbering what I was thinking today. So whoever is still watching right now, I hope you have enjoyed whatever the hell this was today. I don't usually make this stuff. I do this for like whenever I have something I want to talk about, and then today was just one of those days. So yeah, right now, even I'm not talking all my heart out, okay? I'm not talking everything I ever wanted to say. Like I'm still trying to keep that mysterious persona, in my opinion, and I don't know if I want to like get rid of it right now. So yeah, many things I wanted to talk about are not being said today. So yeah, I don't know if that's gonna change in the future. Who knows? But anyways, I hope everybody who is still around have enjoyed so far. And yeah, I will see you guys next time. Stay tuned, everybody, and get more friends too. I appreciate all your opinions. Bye, and take care.